The sound of the iron gate slamming shut is not a sound, it's a sentence. It rings through the narrow corridors like the final toll of a funeral bell, echoing off damp stone, shuddering through the ribs of those trapped behind it. The year is 80 AD and Rome is alive above you. The thunder of the crowd from the Colosseum rolls like a living storm, their cheers a hymn to blood. But down here beneath the arena there are no gods, only dust, rust and despair. You can taste the air. It's thick, metallic, the flavor of sweat and iron, the scent of men who've killed and died 1,000 times over. Torches burn low in their sconces, dripping fat onto the walls like melted wax from a funeral candle. The guards don't speak. They don't have to. The chains and whips do the talking. Every step through this suffocating maze is another step away from the world of the living. You are one of them, a Dacian prisoner, taken from your village after Rome's conquest, your home reduced to ashes and silence. Around you shuffle the others. Women with blank faces, their feet bare, their eyes red from the long march. None of you know why you were spared the midday executions. The arena promised a clean end, swift, public, almost merciful. But this is something different. The torchlight flickers as you turn another corridor, revealing carvings of gladiators etched into the walls. Their stone faces sneer, their blades raised forever in victory. The message is clear. You are entering the belly of Rome's beast. The guards herd you forward until the sound of the crowd above becomes a faint pulse, replaced by something far more intimate. The echo of dripping water, the grind of steel against stone, the distant shout of a man training for death. Your hands ache from the rope binding them. In your fist, hidden in the folds of your rags, is the smooth river stone, the last piece of the riverbank where you once played as a child. You squeeze it until your nails bite into your palm, drawing blood. The pain reminds you you're still alive. At last, the tunnels open into a wide, vaulted chamber, the Ludus, the gladiator barracks. The air is colder here, fouler, heavy with the smell of oiled leather and rot. You realize now that you have not been spared at all. You have been claimed. Above, Rome cheers for spectacle. Below, you learn the truth. The arena may kill the body, but the Ludus devours the soul. The chill of the underground fades, only to be replaced by a sharper, cleaner cold. The captives are shoved into a stone courtyard, open to the sky yet suffocating in its silence. The night air bites their skin. Torches spit and hiss in iron brackets, the flames bending in the wind like restless spirits. Rain has recently fallen. The stones beneath their bare feet are slick and frigid, stained red in more places than one. Hours pass. No one speaks. The women huddle together, breath steaming in the dark. The sound from the arena above filters faintly down, a roar like the sea pounding cliffs. Victory to some, agony to others. Down here it feels like the heartbeat of a beast they have been swallowed by. At last footsteps echo, not the heavy cadence of soldiers, but something slower, more deliberate. A thin man in a dark cloak emerges from the shadows. His hair is oiled, his sandals soft, his posture unhurried. This is no guard, no brute with a whip. This is the bookkeeper of the Lanista, a man whose ink can seal a fate more ruthlessly than any blade. He carries a wax tablet cradled like a sacred relic, and a bronze stylus glints between his fingers. A lantern hangs from his other hand, swaying gently, casting light that crawls across the captives' faces. Not warmly, not kindly. Like judgment, he does not ask their names. Names do not matter here. He inspects them like livestock, prying mouths open to check teeth, gripping wrists and shoulders to gauge strength, tilting heads to examine bone structure. Every movement calculated, practiced, utterly devoid of humanity. His quill-sharp gaze lingers on youth, endurance, obedience, or the lack of it. A woman cries quietly when he touches her jaw. The stylus scratches. She is pulled aside, chained with others, destined for the sulfur mines or worse, the lupanar, the underground brothel where hope goes to rot. Her sob mingles with the scrape of iron and the shuffle of feet. Then he reaches her, the woman with the river stone hidden against her ribs. Rainwater clings to her lashes like tears she refuses to shed. He studies her arms, her posture, her eyes unbroken flame beneath the grime. The stylus pauses, then presses. A mark is made, not for the mines, not for the brothel, something rarer, something darker. She has been selected, claimed, not spared, not saved. Only chosen for a purpose no one speaks aloud. As the marked women are separated and led deeper into the Ludus, The truth settles like frost in her bones. Death was mercy. This, whatever this is, will not be. The chosen women are herded through a narrow archway into a low chamber, where the stench of sweat and iron clings to the air like a ghost. The torches burn low, spitting resin. Piles of soiled tunics and torn leather armor are stacked against the walls, still sticky with dried blood. A scarred attendant, his voice hoarse from years in the Ludus, tosses them coarse garments dyed the color of dust. "Change," he says. "No explanation." No emotion. They obey in silence. The rough wool scrapes their skin, stealing the last remnants of dignity. When the door bolts shut, the echo of iron seals the truth. They are no longer people. They are possessions. Hours later, the Lanista himself arrives. He does not look like a monster. No armor, no weapon, just authority wrapped in calm cruelty. He studies them the way a craftsman might appraise new tools. His eyes are cold, clever, measuring. Behind him the courtyard glows with the faint light of dawn. "You are not servants," he says. "Servants can be replaced." He lifts a wax tablet and taps it with his stylus. "You are investments." The words hang heavy, sharper than any blade. He explains their purpose without emotion. The Ludus is a powder keg of violence and pride, filled with men who have killed too often and too well. His gladiators, his champions, are valuable beyond measure. They require stability, warm food, clean wounds, and sometimes soft voices in the dark. That is what the women are for. Not wives, not lovers, human tranquilizers, meant to keep the beasts docile until the next day's slaughter. The Dacian woman listens, standing rigid at the end of the line, the hidden riverstone still pressed against her stomach beneath the fabric. The others stare at the ground. None dare meet his gaze. One of the Lanista's aides steps forward, pointing out individuals as if selecting livestock. This one for the forge runners, that one for the healers. When his finger lands on her, he hesitates. "Strong shoulders," he mutters. The Lanista glances up. "Good," he says. "She'll serve the champion's quarters." The Dacian woman's pulse slows to a cold, steady rhythm. She doesn't speak, doesn't flinch. She knows what that means. When the guards lead them away, she glimpses the Ludus from within. The clanging forges, the roar of training pits, the metallic tang of sweat and death. She feels the truth settle into her bones like lead. They call it mercy, but it is only a slower kind of execution. The morning breaks in a haze of torch smoke and metal. The Ludus hums like a forge, its walls alive with the clang of swords, the roar of men driven by hunger, pride, and pain. The air is thick with the musk of sweat and oil, the smell of beasts being sharpened for spectacle. The Lanista stands at the center of it all, a man surrounded by his trophies. Today, those trophies are living. He reads from his tablet, his stylus tapping with the rhythm of command. One by one, the chosen women are assigned to their masters, the men who will own them, as they own their blades. The room is still as his finger moves down the list, then stops. "You," he says, looking directly at the Dacian woman. "You will serve Vindex the Gaul." The name alone carries weight. Vindex, the undefeated champion of Rome's blood-soaked games. His strength is legend. His fury the kind that makes crowds forget the gods. The other women flinch at the sound. The Dacian woman does not. Her face is unreadable, carved in resolve. "I serve no one," she says. Her voice cracks the silence like a dropped sword. For a moment, the world seems to hold its breath. Even the forge fire flickers lower. The Lanista does not raise his hand. He does not shout. His reply is colder than punishment. "No one," he repeats almost gently. "Then you will belong to nothing." The guards move at once, not roughly but with terrifying precision. She is seized, stripped of her new tunic, and marched through the echoing halls toward the gate. There, behind a thick iron grate, sits the Cella Oyari, the gatekeeper's cell. A stone niche meant not for torture, but exposure. Inside, the air is colder than death. The gate is never still. It slams open and shut with the rhythm of the Ludus, a sound that rattles the bones. Gladiators, slaves, and trainers pass by her cell all day, their footsteps echoing against the walls. None speak. None meet her eyes. She is visible to all, invisible to everyone. The punishment is a study in silence. No beatings. No food beyond what is needed to live, no words. Only the roar of the arena bleeding through the stone. At night, the torches burn down to embers, and shadows of fighters fall across her face like ghosts. She holds the riverstone in her hand, hidden still, its surface cold against her palm. Rome meant to make her vanish inside her cage, but she endures. Breathing, remembering, waiting. The Lanista thinks he has buried her in shame. He doesn't realize he has built her a temple. The days stretch like chains, long, rusted, and endless. Down here, time has no shape. The guards no longer speak her name. They barely glance at her cell as they pass. The Dacian woman has become a fixture of the Ludus, as invisible and immovable as the stone that imprisons her. At first, the hunger gnaws. It twists her gut and burns her throat. The scraps of stale bread come less and less often, and the water smells of iron. The Lanista from above believes this slow starvation will soften her edges, break her will. He believes solitude will do what the whip could not. But solitude, she discovers, is not an enemy. It is a mirror. In the stillness of the Cella Oiari, she begins to listen, not to the world above, but to the small sounds that remain, her heartbeat echoing against the walls, the distant thud of wooden swords, the groan of the gate grinding open and shut. These are the rhythms of Rome's cruelty, but also its weakness, endless repetition without thought. She studies them like scripture. At night, she presses her palm against the cold wall. The stone beneath her fingers feels alive, humming faintly with the tremors of the earth. Her hand finds the river stone, smooth and unyielding. She turns it over and over until the pain in her body becomes part of her prayer. The hunger becomes discipline. The silence becomes strength. The darkness becomes sanctuary. What Rome built to crush her has instead refined her. She no longer curses the Lanista or the guards. They are only tools, the instruments of her transformation. The cell becomes a temple, its rough walls her altar, its emptiness her teacher. Each breath she takes is an oath never to forget who she was before chains. Sometimes, faint light filters through the barred gate, carrying the sounds of life outside. Laughter, shouting, the dull roar of the crowd from the Colosseum far above. Those sounds no longer wound her. They remind her that she endures while others burn themselves away in the noise. The riverstone, once a relic of home, has become more than memory. It is her anchor, her god, her defiance made solid. When she closes her fist around it, she feels not despair, but balance, the weight of herself against the empire that tried to erase her. In the silence of the Ludus, she is reborn, not free, not forgiven, but unbroken. And in that unbroken silence, Rome begins to tremble. Night drips slowly in the Ludus, thick as oil and twice as heavy. The clang of training weapons fades, replaced by the sound of torches guttering in their brackets. In the corridor outside the Cella Oiari, the great iron gate moans open and shut like the breathing of some sleeping beast, and then he appears, Vindex the Gaul, Rome's most feared champion. His body is a map of scars, his shoulders broad enough to block the light. The other slaves whisper that his strength was forged from a dozen dead men, that his heart beats only when the crowd roars. But tonight there is no crowd, only the quiet scrape of his sandals on the stone. He stops at her cell. For nights he has done this, stood in silence, studying her through the bars. Some say he comes to taunt her defiance, others to claim what the Lanista promised him. But this time he does not reach for the key on his belt. Instead he speaks, a low sound, rough like gravel. Come. The word is not command or plea, it's something older, worn by exhaustion. The Dacian woman hesitates. The torches throw his shadow across her cell, massive and distorted. Still she rises. The riverstone in her hand catches a glint of light as she steps forward. The key turns. The gate groans open. He leads her downward, past the forges that glow like the belly of a dragon, past the racks of weapons slick with oil. The deeper they descend, the colder the air becomes. The smell of metal gives way to the scent of damp earth, of mold and old wine. At last he stops before a stone wall, rough and uneven. He braces his scarred hands against it and pries loose a single slab. Behind it yawns a small hollow, lit by the trembling flame of an oil lamp. She gasps softly. Inside are tokens, a carved wooden boar, a loop of horsehair, a shard of blue glass worn smooth by seawater. The relics of lost worlds hidden from Rome's eyes. Vindex touches the boar with surprising gentleness. Then he looks at her. No words, none needed. In that silence she understands. He is not her captor. He is her reflection, a slave to glory, to Rome's hunger, just as she is a slave to its silence. But here in the hollow beneath the Ludus, they are both human again, keepers of memory in a world built to erase it. The Empire may own their bodies, but tonight it will not own their souls. The air in the hidden cellar feels alive, as if every breath taken there carries the weight of centuries. The flickering oil flame trembles, throwing long ghostly shadows across the stone walls. It is not a place of death, but of memory. The Dacian woman kneels beside Vindex, her eyes tracing the relics arranged inside the hollow. Each object is small, insignificant in the eyes of Rome, yet each one hums with the soul of a world the Empire thought it had destroyed. A wooden boar carved crudely by hand, its edges worn smooth by time, a loop of braided horsehair glinting faintly in the lamplight. A fragment of blue glass worn soft by sea salt and centuries. To the Romans, these are trinkets. To those who hid them, they are scripture. Vindex's hand lingers on the boar, his breath slow and reverent. The creature was sacred to his tribe, the emblem of courage and the hunt. He has hidden it here for years, feeding it scraps of his victories like a secret god beneath Rome's boots. Now he turns to her. No words pass between them. There is only the sound of the flame and the faint creak of his armor. She feels the river stone in her palm, the last heartbeat of her homeland. The stone has been her weapon, her prayer, her name. Now as she looks at the hidden shrine, she realizes it has always belonged here. Her hand shakes as she places the river stone among the relics. The sound it makes, a soft click of stone on stone, echoes louder than any shout. The moment feels eternal. In this silence something shifts. Not in the earth, but in her. The loneliness that had been her armor melts away, replaced by something fiercer, belonging. These are not just relics. They are acts of rebellion, small as breath, enduring as faith. She glances at Vindex. The monster Rome created is gone. What kneels before her is a man, one who remembers the songs of his people, the smell of pine smoke, the taste of snow. He looks back at her and nods once, slow and solemn. In that gesture, she understands the truth that Rome fears most. Slaves who remember are never truly conquered. They seal the wall again, pressing the slab back into place. The chamber darkens. Above them the Ludus continues, the clang of swords, the roar of command. But below, in this hidden vein beneath the Empire's heart, something living beats in secret, a sanctuary of souls, invisible, undefeated, waiting. It happens without warning. One morning, the Lanista's bookkeeper opens his wax tablet, and two names, two figures of flesh and defiance, are gone. No death mark, no transfer, no entry, only silence, blank lines where there should be ink. The Dacian woman and Vindex the Gaul vanish, not with blood but with bureaucracy, Rome's favorite form of erasure. The Ludus continues as though nothing happened. Gladiators train, slaves scrub the floors, the gates slam open and shut. The sand in the arena drinks new blood every day, forgetting yesterday's sacrifices. The Lanista never asks questions. Questions are dangerous in an empire that worships order. Perhaps he tells himself that Vindex was sold to another school. Perhaps the woman was sent to the mines. But at night, when he reads his ledgers by lamplight, his eyes always pause on that blank space. And though he will never admit it, he feels watched. Years pass, then decades. The Ludus changes hands. The arena crowd roars for new heroes. The empire devours new provinces. The old names, the old defiance, fade into whispers. And then, centuries later, the earth gives up its secrets. The ruins of the gladiator barracks at Carnuntum, buried under Austrian soil, are unearthed by men with gloves and brushes instead of swords. They find walls within walls, layers of stone that don't belong. Inside a sealed hollow, they uncover a carved wooden boar blackened by time, a silver disc, tarnished but still bearing the faint mark of a crescent, and a small smooth riverstone, perfectly intact, untouched by centuries. The archaeologists record them as personal artifacts, catalogued under unidentified owners. They don't know they are holding a rebellion, fossilized in silence. The air inside the hollow smells faintly of oil and salt, a memory that refuses to die. In that darkness, the Empire's noise is gone. No crowds, no chains, no orders. Only the echo of what it tried to erase. Love, memory, defiance. Above, the Colosseum's bones crumble under the weight of centuries, but below, their secret endures. The stone remains where she placed it, cold and perfect. Her hand once warmed it, Her heartbeat once echoed through it. History buried them, but the earth remembered. The arena's roar has turned to dust. The names of emperors are forgotten. But the river stone, that small defiant piece of her soul, still waits in the dark, and a silent testament that no empire, no matter how vast, can conquer memory. Beneath the ruin of Rome, the stone endures when it's silent, eternal, undefeated.